Good afternoon, ethnic studies students, and welcome to my class, Professor Berz. So, we're going to start off our first topic, topic one, with the theme of guns, germs, and steel. The argument against European hegemony. So, essentially, when Europeans came to the Western Hemisphere, they dominated the native people for various reasons, and that's what we're going to get into. So I'm going to start off by giving you the methods that we're going to use, the strategies that we're going to use to get to the culminating final project, which will be you doing some document analysis and some reading of Guns, Germs, and Steel and putting that into an abbreviated version of a child's book version of this. So we're going to start off first with, as you can see right there, a KWL chart, which you may be familiar with already, is what you know, what you wonder to know, and then eventually what you learn that we'll get to at the end of the unit. So let's start off with our K portion of the KWL chart, and I'm going to give you some samples to get you started, and you're going to be doing your own when I'm done. So what I know, there's many things I do, but just a couple of things here. Native tribes were organized by tribal nations, connecting their culture and common interest. Number two, there were nearly 100 million native indigenous people in the Americas before Europeans arrived. So you're going to fill out the K portion with what you know. The W portion of the KWL chart, what you wonder, what you're curious about. And I gave you some starter suggestions. How hard did the native indigenous people fight back against their destruction, their culture, and way of life? And number two, how many native indigenous people of the Americas still retain their native language, customs, and traditions? So on the completion of my presentation here, you're going to be filling out your KW portion out, similar to what I did there for you. And like I said earlier, we will go over what you learned in the culminating part after you completed your children's book on guns, germs, and steel. Okay, so the next thing I want to take you to that we're going to be using are strategies to put together the book along the way. And that is some political cartoons. You can see that I'm using from this article here. You see a poster there of Christopher Columbus, which states grand theft, genocide, racism, initiating the destruction of a culture, rape, torture, and maiming of indigenous people, and the instigator of the big lie, 500 years of tourism. So you can see there is an article attached that we'll get into an analysis and discussion a little later. But for right now, I want you to understand that you are going to be creating in your pairs different cartoons similar to that related to the misperception of the Europeans discovering America. So our premise here that the argument against European hegemony or dominance is that there were well-established native cultures already here. And then you can see here is another, a sampler of a cartoon off the same article with Columbus there, and the comment or quote says, "One small step for man, one giant leap for my kind." Of course, insinuating that people of European descent, giant leap for them, and thus the misnomer of Europeans discovering America, so to speak. And then, so you will use these cartoons from the article, and that's what you'll use as your base to develop your own cartoons that will eventually become illustrations in your children's book version of Guns, Germs, and Steel. And finally, the last part is document analysis right here. And right here you can see this is our topic, as I stated, Guns, Germs, and Steel, the argument against European hegemony, how events folded to favor some nations over others. So I'm just going to briefly kind of summarize what you'll be reading, discussing, doing an analysis, and then coming up with a summary to put together towards your children's book based on the reading of Guns, Germs, and Steel. But I wanted you to have an idea right here of the book itself, just a brief summary. So Jared Diamond, the author, argues that countries of the world became wealthy and influential due to geographical chance. So basically summarizing this, these nations did not become wealthy as a result of any kind of ethnic or cultural factors. They did become wealthy because they outperformed. They did not rather become wealthy because they outperformed necessarily other nations or people. They were clearly fortunate in terms of their geographical location in relation to valuable natural resources. There's a refute of popular notions here. Diamond wishes to disprove the widely held belief that European countries are wealthy and influential as a result of their cultural superiority. Many people believe that Europeans were racially superior to other races and or had a superior culture. Diamond is adamantly opposed to this idea. So that's kind of the heart of it. He's opposed to that notion. And geography and its benefits. This is the heart of what we're getting at here is geographic luck, Diamond says, is what made countries rich and powerful and others weak and poor. He says that the countries that did become rich and powerful were those that developed agricultural first. When they did that, they made large, complex societies. In those large, complex societies, they were able to develop technologies that made them powerful. Their wealth and power stemmed from the early adoption of agriculture. And finally, summarizing Diamond's thesis and the premise here that we're going into for your project, good fortune, right place, right time. So why were these countries the first to get agriculture? Diamond contends that they were simply fortunate. These countries were fortunate enough to be situated in areas with a large number of domesticable plant and animal species. They were situated in areas where domesticated species could easily spread from one culture to another. They developed agriculture as a result of their good fortune and became wealthy and influential as a result. So, as a result, Diamond's theory is that geographic luck played the most important role in deciding which countries became wealthy and dominant and which remained poor and powerless. So, those are the strategies that we're using, and you're going to take those from the KWL chart and through your cartoons, and then from your cartoons will become your illustrations in the children's book, and then you have his thesis and premise. You're going to read each chapter with a one-page summary, and you're going to apply that to your children's book, and that'll be the culminating part. So, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the chat and to contact me to reach out. I would also like you to brainstorm to get in the mode of this study of guns, germs, and steel by thinking about other misnomers in the world that have happened throughout history that people have assumed something about culture or dominance or conquering for that matter. So enjoy, and I look forward to working with you on that. And we will take the next steps after these strategies are complete. And I look forward to discussing with you and looking at your development that'll eventually become your Guns, Germs, and Steel children's book version. Thank you very much. Everybody have a great day, and I will talk to you shortly.